Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Jackie, and today I'm going to work on some stress-free necklaces using the Bargain Bead Box Making Waves collection. And so I have a good variety of beads, and I'm thinking about an easy way to make multi-strand necklaces, but convertible. So what I've got to work with here is I've got my regular bead-along wire. I've got some chain. I've got some crimp beads. I've got some spring rings. I've got some jump rings. And I've got some crimp covers here. Okay, so for starters, I pulled some of the fossil coral tumbled nugget beads. So I like the browns in those. And then I've got the, let's see, the green angelite tumbled pebble beads. I think the turquoise will go nicely with this. I think that'll be good. Now, it's not going to be a very long segment, but I'm going to make these where they have a spring ring on the end so I can vary the lengths and then finish it up with chain. So that's where I'm going to start. Now, you've seen me do this many times before, so I'm going to pull a length of wire a little bit longer than my actual necklace component. Just so I have room. And then I'm going to add a crimp bead, and it does not matter what color crimp bead. Actually, first, before I add a crimp bead, I'm going to add a crimp cover. So, just something I do regularly for wired necklaces. Now I'm going to add the crimp bead. Okay, and I like to loop back up the crimp bead. And then I like to hold the end and just kind of pull down this way the best I can here. I don't like a lot of waste, so I don't feel I need to waste anything, so I like to pull from the bottom. But you can see it kind of loops around that crimp bead right there, and I'm just going to smash it. Now, since these are a little bit larger, I might be able to get by with a pair of crimp pliers. See how it goes. I do tend to wreck them sometimes. Let's see. Let me see if this is okay or too big. Too big. Okay. Alright, medium size is good. Got a pair of wire embedded in it. Okay, so I'm using the medium on this. And of course, since I love Bead Box Bargains, or Bargain, yeah, the sister store, you know that's where I pretty much get all my findings from. So it looks like that's working out pretty well. Okay. And then I'm going to grab my wire cutters and trim the end. And I like to trim it fairly close. And then I'm just going to take my nail and bend it like that and close it up. And then I'll take my needle nose pliers and just push them together, just making sure the hole lines up. Next, I'm going to just string it. Be right back. Okay, time to string the necklace. So I'm just going to start at one end. I've already got my beads laid out. And it does help to lay them out ahead of time, just so you know the pattern you want to use, and you know about what length it's going to be. So in this case, I'm not measuring because I want a stress-free necklace. So, and I want it to be adjustable and adaptable. And you'll see what I mean by the end of this video, which I'm going to do in sections. But right now, I'm just stringing on the beads. So, sometimes it's hard to see the holes, but they seem to be drilled pretty well. I have no complaints. And nugget beads are kind of cool because they're really smooth and they look good and all natural. So, you know, when you're going for a beach vibe, it is good to kind of go natural. I love all the variations in the stone too. Looks really nice. So if you do varying lengths, then you can kind of match them up the way you want them to go. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. It just makes it so much faster if you line them up ahead of time. I think the two colors go nicely together. You know, it never hurts to go simple in design. Sometimes you can go overboard and then it can be kind of stressful because then you're trying to line everything up and, you know, keep it in place. But if you just use a couple of beads and, you know, just one then the other, just keeps it simple and easy. Oh, that was a pretty bead. Look at all the designs in there. That one's got a tie-dye pattern. Cool. That's neat. It's amazing what stones look like under a high-powered magnifying glass. If you're a little bit older, I suggest you get one because it definitely helps you to see everything. Okay, so I've got it together, and now I'm going to make sure everything's on correctly. Put on my crimp cover and a crimp bead. So I've got crimp tubes here. I tend to like these a little bit better. They seem to hold up pretty well. Okay, so one thing I like to do when I'm doing the second end is I like to coil up the necklace. The reason for that is so when you pull this down tight, it's not going to make it so tight that it, you know, kind of warps it and bends it into place. You know, you like a little bit of give to it, so I just don't like them too tight. So I'm just going to bring that down there, pull it up. First thing I'll do is squish it. Then I'll take my crimp pliers and close it up. I'm going to squeeze it from this end if I can get it. My fingers here. Hold on 1 second. Now, this isn't always the easy part. It's doable though. I just got to get it turned around to where it's sideways so I can squeeze it together. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Just kind of move up the tube a little bit and squeeze it together. And trim. There's enough there for a bracelet. Okay. Put that together, and then I don't want to put the spring ring on yet. I just want to put the jump ring on, because that way I can line them up later and just see what kind of sizes I have and how I want to put it together. So I'm just making several different necklace segments. So it just depends on how many beads you have of a certain kind. There. All right, that looks good. All right. I like that my pliers are a little bit magnetic, and it does help pick them up sometimes. So always do it side to side, let the jump ring snap, and when you see that this is a little bit above that, just gently mash it down until it's even. You can feel it too, so looks like that one needs to go in just a hair bit. Okay. Do like for them to be even and smooth here, so I do adjust quite often, and mainly just so it doesn't get caught in your hair or your sweater or your clothes. Okay, let me grab my measuring tape and see how long it is. Okay, so it looks like that's about 14 inches. I like that. Now, I tend to like my necklaces long, but anywhere from, you know, average 18 to 20 inches is what I normally do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull that up, move these out of the way a little bit. Now the next strand I'm going to lay out, and I'll be back shortly. Okay, so to keep within the theme, I am using, let's see what those are. Okay, so I'm using the 8mm Amazonite matte beads, and then the glass round beads, which are fun and colorful and just adds a little variation in there. Although I'm still keeping with the every other one theme, you know, just to keep it consistent. But, you know, it gives kind of a peachy tones, you know, brown tones, and then the turquoise in between. It just keeps it all in that theme. So what I'm going to do next is grab some wire, and I'm going to go ahead and string this up. So what I did is I followed the path, but I made it a little bit shorter. Now, it's not precise, not measured, but, you know, just a little bit shorter because I want a multi-strand necklace that, you know, varies in size. So I'm going to pull some wire. And when I have extra wire, I don't waste it. I just always save it for bracelets. You know, there's always enough left for bracelets. But I like to have enough left to work with, you know, and pull and have in my hand. Okay, so I'm adding another crimp bead. Looks like two stuck together. Interesting. That's going to be a little bit too long. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to thread it up. Okay, I pull it tight and squeeze. Okay, so I changed my battery, so I should have a little more life left. So where I left off is I put the jump ring on that end, and now I'm going to put the jump ring on this end. So I'm just picking it up. And snapping it together. There we go. Okay, that feels good. Nice and smooth. Alright, so when I use a, oh, what do you call them, the divider things, then they're going to vary in size. So like that. Alright, so I'm going to put the next one together and see what I come up with. So the next strand, I'm going to use the 4mm crystal beads. And I'm still using the same pattern, turquoise with the peach and, you know, the brown colors. You know, basically what I did is I just lined them up and just kind of tried to evenly space them around this, just so, you know, when we put the ends together, they'll kind of go even but be variegated. And I might make another strand to go in here or something, so I'm still trying to decide on that. But so yeah, what I'm gonna do next is try it again. Let me see how much if I have enough here. I don't quite have enough. So just gonna try to pull enough wire to, you know, have enough plus a little extra. And this is why I pulled, you know, a stack of these out, just so I could have them handy since I'm designing on the fly. Okay. My nails look rough. I'm aware of it. But, you know, on my day job, I have to type a lot, and I can't type with nails. I like literally suck at it. Okay. I'm just squeezing them together. Get that to bend a little bit more. All right, now it's working. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to just simply string these on, and I'll be back when I'm finished. Okay, so I just finished putting on my crimp covers. I've got this section finished, and now I'm just adding my jump rings. Just remember, your finger is always the best judgment because you can feel if an edge is rough or not. You know, adjust from that. Looks like I do have a piece of wire sticking out of this one though, so I'm going to have to trim that one out. So that's done. I got that little piece of wire. Not a problem. Okay. So if I line these up here as to how I plan to kind of do them, I'm going to get a lot of variation, so that's going to look nice. And then, you know, then you add the rest of it around the edge. But I also want to make these to where it's adjustable. Because, you know, you might not always want to wear 3 strands, or you may want to add more. You never know. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start adding on my jump rings. Or my clasp. So I've already got the jump rings on here, so I don't need that again, but I will have to open them back up. So I'm going to take that and grab a spring ring. Just make sure that's smooth. So on this one, I'm putting a spring ring on each end. And these are just little, I think these are 5mm spring rings. So, you know, small enough to be subtle, but big enough to fit over whatever I'm attaching these to, which we're going to go over that in just a second. Okay. So anytime you open your jump rings, always do it side to side. And then fill it with your fingers. Sometimes you need to adjust a little bit, but that's all you need to do. And then, so now that I've got that together, I'm going to attach it to these rings just for fun. So I've got to get it open. And of course, this is going to go on the outside of the ring just because It's the largest piece. So I'm grabbing the other ring. And I'm going to attach this here. This actually works perfectly. Okay. And now I'm going to add a spring ring to each of these two pieces. Okay, so I've got the spring rings on, and now I'm just going to simply attach them to the loops. One thing you do want to pay attention to is making sure that the loops go the same way, just so you know it doesn't twist. So you can kind of feel it if it twists on you. So I'm doing largest on the outside and smallest on the inside. And looks like this spring ring is a little bit shallow, so I'm just going to pull it apart just a little bit, because sometimes you have to adjust your findings too. Okay. Let's see. Sometimes you just gotta mess with it till you get it right. I'm happy with that. As long as it opens and closes and stays where it's supposed to, I'll be happy. Okay, yeah, that fit in there just fine. Okay. And one more. So there's a flat edge on these hoops, which I like. Makes it easier to get these on. Okay, so I can feel that twisting just a little bit, so I'm just using my hands and kind of feeling it to, you know, see where it's best to put it. Okay. So we now have 3 strands all put together. Now, how these two got switched around, I have no idea. But I did it, so I've got to straighten it up. Okay. Okay, so when you do that, you've got 3 strands of different sizes, but it'll hang nicely because, you know, I fixed them to where they'll go with the rings. So that one's a little twisted still. Okay, looks like I need to untwist that one. Which is okay. Okay, now we got it. Okay, so now we have 3 strands. Okay, and next I have a chain. It's a little curb chain. It's got just kind of a little textured edge to it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a length that I think would look good with the chain. So I'm going to do it off camera, but what I'm doing is putting it around the back of my neck. And then I'm picking this up and I'm going to adjust the chain so the necklace falls where I want it to. Okay, and then I'm just kind of holding it with my finger right here. And I'm going to cut it apart at the length for how long I want it to be. Which I didn't need a whole lot. Looks like maybe 12 inches roughly. And that just kind of makes my necklace hang down, I guess, midway on my chest. So perfect length, I'm happy with it. So next, I'm going to put a jump ring on each end. So I'm going to open it up. And if you want to put a spring ring on the chain, you know, if you want to use different chains, you can do that as well. I'm probably going to keep mine the way it is. But it's going to look good. I think I am using 5mm jump rings, which are, to me, the perfect size because, you know, they don't stand out so much that, you know, you can say, oh, you got huge jump rings, but, you know, they're subtle and they do their job. Okay, so we got that part, and then what I'm going to do is hold this and fold it in half. I just realized I use a larger jump ring on one side of it. So I had apparently had some jump rings mixed in with my spring ring clasp. So I'm just going to replace it with this one. Perfect. Okay. Happy with that. And now that I have even jump rings, I'm going to basically fold this chain in half. And trim right there in the middle. Okay, and I'm going to add a jump ring to one end. And I tend to put my clasp on the right side generally, although this one, you know, is flippable, so it doesn't really matter. But that's just kind of how I roll. Okay, so I'm putting that one on, making it even. Good. And one more. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm putting it together, and we have a finished multi-strand necklace. Now when it's spread out, you just, you know, make sure that this goes to the inside and the bigger beads go to the outside. But yeah, that's going to be really pretty. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave your comments down below. May creativity be your guide.